Hi and welcome to this week's episode of Talking Fertility. It is Tuesday here in Melbourne, and not my usual Monday morning Talking Fertility episode because I was at a conference myself yesterday, filling my brain with all the latest fertility research, and particularly I was learning in relation to genetics and personalised medicine to help overcome fertility issues and really improve pregnancy outcomes. So looking forward to bringing some of those exciting new tools to my patients. So if you are struggling to conceive and need that extra support, head over to tashajennings.com.au. I love that we live in a world today where I can help patients all over the place via Skype and Zoom. So I would love to help you. But today I'm going to be talking about a topic that I do get asked a lot about, especially here in Melbourne, where coffee is really an institution, and that is the impact of caffeine on fertility. And I'm going to be specifically talking about female fertility today because, you know, we all know that we should reduce caffeine intake during pregnancy. But what about before you become pregnant? What about when you are trying to fall pregnant? Now, if you search hard enough, you'll find plenty of studies to say that it is perfectly fine to have a normal intake of coffee. There are other studies saying that it may be harmful. So today I'm going to give you the facts that we do know, the recommended guidelines, as well as the advice that I give to my patients. Now, firstly, some of the known biological effects of caffeine are central nervous system stimulation, an increased release of catecholamines like adrenaline and noradrenaline, and increased heart rate. Now, everyone is affected by caffeine differently. And it was interesting to see in the genetic profiling that we did in the conference yesterday that your response to caffeine is determined largely by your genes. Now, these genes are influenced by environmental factors, but your predisposition to caffeine sensitivity is set in your DNA. Now, so some people can have coffee before bed and sleep soundly. For me, I even have a second cup and I'm buzzing. You know, I'm a high energy person anyway, so coffee for me helps me bounce off the walls. I've had a green tea today and I can still feel the caffeine. But yet my husband can easily drink 2 or 3 or more cups of coffee a day. In fact, I wouldn't actually like to see him operate without his coffee. He's a heart surgeon, so the nurses know to bring him his morning coffee before he starts his list. Now, this sensitivity is also obviously influenced by your tolerance that you've built up. You know, if you have been drinking 3 cups of coffee a day for 10 years, your body will have adapted to that intake. But the genetic link may be part of the reason why for some people their fertility is more compromised by caffeine intake than others. And what we do know that caffeine does cross the placenta quite easily, but the fetus has no enzymes to metabolize it. This is why we don't recommend caffeine during pregnancy. Now, whether this is harmful during the early stages of pregnancy, the studies vary, but we do know that it's not beneficial, and we do know that high levels are harmful. We also know that caffeine can affect healthy ovulation, as well as the function of the corpus luteum, which is the remains of the ovarian follicle, which releases the egg at ovulation and then stimulates the production of the all-important progesterone, which supports implantation and the progression of a healthy pregnancy. Therefore, women with high intakes of caffeine may be at a higher risk of ovulation issues, as well as increased risk of miscarriage. Now, women consuming more than 200 milligrams of caffeine per day, which is about 2 cups of coffee, were shown to have double the risk of miscarriage compared to those consuming no caffeine at all. In a recent study, it was shown that women who drink in excess of 1 cup of coffee a day were only half as likely to conceive as those who drank 1 cup or less per day. And those who drank more than 2 to 3 cups of coffee were 5 times less likely to conceive compared to women who were drinking no coffee at all. And this study also revealed that the chances of conceiving also decreased with the increasing caffeine consumption beyond those 2 or 3 cups. And look, unfortunately, the exact safe or best intake of caffeine when trying to fall pregnant is highly debatable. As I said, on one side, you have these studies that do show a significant negative impact. But if you look hard enough, you'll find other studies that show no impact at low levels at all. So current guidelines here in Australia recommend that you should limit your caffeine intake to around 100 to 200 milligrams per day when you are trying to fall pregnant. So that's 1 to 2 cups of regular coffee or 2 to 4 cups of regular black tea if you're a tea drinker, which I am, per day. And also be mindful of your cumulative intake of caffeine. So caffeine doesn't just come from coffee and tea. You can also get caffeine from from chocolate, hot chocolate, green tea even, and soft drinks and energy drinks, obviously. So although under 200 milligrams per day is currently presumed safe, another study of patients undergoing IVF showed that women who consumed even modest amounts of caffeine, so around 50 milligrams per day, which is really only half a cup of coffee, had decreased live birth rates. Now, there are obviously a myriad of factors influencing your ability to conceive and carry a healthy baby. And I talk about those a lot right here. But if you are serious about wanting to fall pregnant, reducing caffeine is something simple that you can do, which may improve your chances. Now, I'm always cautious when I look at caffeine intake because I don't like the word should. Now, I should stop drinking caffeine. I should meditate every day. I should eat completely organic. Should carry so much pressure and guilt. And there always seems to be so many things you should be doing when it comes to your fertility, which just adds to the stress. Stress, pressure, and guilt are things that I like to take away from my patients, not add to the burden. You're doing that yourself enough. So I work with patients around both their genetic predisposition and their lifestyle to get the best outcome for them in regards to my diet and lifestyle recommendations. And if taking away that morning coffee that you just couldn't live without would be a huge stress on you, then don't do it. However, if you are, say, having those extra cups because someone in the office does the rounds at work, or you grab that extra cup that really doesn't add any benefit to you, it's just an excuse to go to the tea room, then I would consider cutting that out or finding an alternative. Now, I should mention decaf. And yes, decaf is an option to minimize your caffeine intake, but always opt for a good quality water filter decaf, as there can be toxins that accumulate during the decaffeination process. And the reality is that, most people do have that coffee for that, buzz that gives them, or just that ability to wake up in the morning that it gives you. So if you want to enjoy a second cup for perhaps social reasons or other reasons, a good quality decaf is an option. Or alternatively, there are some great caffeine-free herbal teas, which make an excellent alternative. So ultimately, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Yes, coffee may have an impact, so it is something that you should consider reducing, but look at how it fits into your lifestyle and what is achievable for you. So I hope that has given you some food for thought in relation to your morning coffee. And as I always say to my patients, it's really not the huge unsustainable changes that you make that make the most impact. It's actually the small sustainable changes that you make daily that can have the most impact on your ability to conceive and carry a healthy baby. So thanks for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next week.